Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Mary. I'm a homeschooling mom to a second grader and a kindergartner this year. And in one of my videos recently, I explained to y'all how I decided last minute to switch things up with our language arts moving forward for this school year, and that I was going to be introducing the McGuffy Readers to my kiddos. Now, I got a few questions and comments from that video about the McGuffy Readers and requests to make a whole video on it, which I think actually makes complete sense because when I first learned about these, I was researching everywhere, craving information about them and how to use them as a full curriculum. So here I am hoping to add to that information pool if you yourself are looking at the McGuffy Readers and how to turn them into a full language arts program for your kiddos. Now, just a brief overview about what the McGuffy Readers are. If you've never heard of the McGuffy Readers, you're probably sitting here scratching your head. So probably a quick overview would be helpful before I delve into how we are utilizing them as our language arts program in a Charlotte Mason method. So the McGuffy Readers are a 7-book series. There is the primer, and then it moves on to the first eclectic reader, and then it goes all the way up to the 6th eclectic reader. These books were written back in the 1800s, and they were utilized by parents and teachers in schoolhouses to teach kids how to read. It is phonetically based, which I really like, and I think that is the best method to teach kids how to read, frankly. My oldest has done really well with phonics. My youngest has just started with phonics. Also, just to give you a point of reference, my oldest just turned 7 at the beginning of July, and my youngest is turning 5 at the end of this month, August, just so you can kind of understand what their age levels are and their abilities are. Now, something to note is these books are the revised edition. You'll see it right here. There is an original edition. I'm not entirely sure what the difference is between the two. I think there is a difference in content. I was recommended by all my research to go with the revised edition, so that is what I picked up. I was very fortunate and I bought the entire series. And we don't need it right now, but I went ahead and got the entire series because it was being sold on eBay in really good condition for $42. When if you buy this brand new, I think Mott Media is the publisher that prints them now. They sell them, I think, brand new for the entire set, the entire series for $110. So that was over a 50% savings. I figured worst case scenario, if we don't end up liking this program, we can easily sell it because they are very well loved and valued by many families. So there is a market to resell them if we don't like them. But as of right now, they're going really well. So we're at least sticking with them for this year, if not years to come. Now, something to note about the amount of books in this series. So I originally, when I was looking at them, because it goes up to the 6th reader, I thought, oh, well, this will get us through 6th grade language arts. That is completely wrong. That was bad assumption on my part. Through my research, I heard a lot of people talking about in YouTube videos or in blogs about how they can take you all the way through to 12th grade. And I just couldn't imagine that a 7-book series can get you from kindergarten through 12th grade. Well, when I got the whole series and I opened up the 6th book, I was absolutely impressed with the level of dictation, of vocabulary, and just, I, as a 36-year-old, had to open a dictionary to read some of the words that were in the 6th book. So I was like, well, my kids are going to be a lot smarter than me after using this series. So it can absolutely be used as your entire language arts program from kindergarten to 12th grade. I can attest to that now that I have the books in my hand and I was able to flip through them. So talking about how we are going to use these. So I think the best place to start is with my oldest reader and kind of explaining how we're going to use it with her. So my oldest is utilizing the first eclectic reader. She's a strong reader, so I started her a little ways into this book this year. I started her, I think, on lesson 8 or 9, I cannot remember. And even those were too easy for her, but I'd rather her start back a little bit and review rather than starting her ahead where it might be too challenging, and we're moving at this at a quick pace. And then we'll get to a point where it's just challenging enough for her and meeting her where she is, and we'll slow down our pace, so that'll be perfect. But I am using this in conjunction with Verily Schoolhouse's digital print of the Mason McGuffey lesson book. So I'll show you an inside look at that in a moment. But just as an overview, we are a classical Charlotte Mason homeschooling family. So our language arts consists of copywork, narration, and dictation at the heart of everything that we do from a language arts perspective. We do lean a little bit more like neoclassical per se when it comes to introducing grammar. We do that now instead of waiting till 4th grade like Charlotte Mason suggests. So we're using first language lessons for that. However, we review grammar when we go over this. So it's just re-solidifying those concepts for my girls in grammar is using this. But you don't have to do a strict grammar program with the McGuffy Readers if you don't want to. If you are truly Charlotte Mason, you don't have to do that. And also another thing is we are using All About Spelling. However, we are on level 2 right now. My oldest is running through that. We may drop that after we complete that and just use this for spelling. So I haven't decided that yet. We're going to see how the rest of this goes, and the rest of All About Spelling level 2 goes. And then we'll kind of make a decision after that if we drop All About Spelling and just use this for spelling. And I'll explain why, because it has to do with how we use this workbook. So before opening the book and showing you what's all in there and how it's set up, I wanted to go over a loop schedule I had created for both of my girls and how we are utilizing these books for language arts. So I printed this out on Canva because this is totally unnecessary, but this is just me doing this. So if we look at my 2nd grader's schedule, you see that the first thing I have her do is read words and the sentences / the passage for that lesson. Then we move to her orally narrating back to me what the passage was about. We haven't gotten to her writing her own narrations yet. I ask her if she says no, which has been every time thus far. I say, no problem, I'll write it for you. I think by the end of this year, she'll probably start writing her own narrations, but I'm not going to push it again. 3 is optional, but it's always been a yes thus far. Can I draw a picture of your narration? The next step is read and write the word list that is included in each lesson 2 times. So this is where the spelling comes in. And then we do copy work and then dictation. And that's also where the spelling comes into with dictation. For my youngest, hers is a little different because she is younger. Her first is read the letters or the blends of sounds that are listed for the lesson. Then she reads the words. Then we read the sentences or passage for that lesson. I have her orally narrate to me, and she does draw a picture. It's not optional because she's not quite there to write her narrations yet, so she's drawing her narrations. And then we will do a recap of the lesson, reread the sentences and passage from the lesson. So this may look like a lot, and this is not meant to be done in one day. We will maybe take about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes a day, and work through the schedule. I have a little visual timer. I turn it on, and we start wherever we left off in the schedule from the day before. So if on Monday, let's say we start lesson 1, we read the letters and we read the words, and then 5 minutes has passed, so we're done. Then the next day, we will pick up here in the same lesson and we will read the sentences or the passage that's for that lesson. If that takes the full 5 to 10 minutes, we're done for that day. And you see what I'm saying, right? Do you see how this is looping? And then we orally narrate, and let's say we reread the sentences, and that's the 3rd day. Then on the 4th day, we will pop back up to the top and we will go to lesson 2 and read the letters, blends, sounds. And then we kind of just run through it, just work at their own pace, but I only work for 5 to 10 minutes a day. And that has been plenty for us to work through the lessons. And it's been a really good, smooth schedule for us as well. Also, because they're on the younger side, their attention span's not as good as probably somebody in the 6th or 7th grade. So 5 to 10 minutes is all they need, and the information sinks in. So next, I'm going to open up the book and I'm going to show you what is inside. So when you first open the book, there are 2 pages here. This first one, it says, this is the first reader, by the way. This says suggestion to teacher, and it talks about the program, and then the preface. It explains how you can utilize the McGuffy Readers, the different exercises that can be done within the program. It talks about the illustrations, etc. And it also talks about the diacritical marks, which if you're not familiar with those, I'll show you those in a moment. The next page shows you the alphabet, capital and lowercase letters. And then on here, it shows you the script alphabet that they use. So they bring in cursive in the first reader. They do not do cursive so much in the primer as much as they do in this book, but they do introduce a little bit of it in the primer. So let's go to here. Let's go to lesson 10. This is a good one. So lesson 10, just to show you how they are set up. The great part about this is also that my kids are learning Roman numerals because there's no other program that we're using that introduces those. So they're getting used to X is 10, X1 means 11. It's pretty cool. So first what I have my daughter do is I actually have her read the word list, and all of them come with illustrations. Most of them do, actually. I think all the chapters do. So we go through each word and I have her read those. Then I have her read the letter sounds that are going to be used in this lesson. So you'll see right here under the O, there's 2 dots. I'm still figuring out what the diacritical marks, like which symbols diacritical marks mean which sound. So what a diacritical mark, from my understanding, is it's telling you which number sound you're supposed to use for that letter. So for A, you have a, ah, and it's done in that order. So the first sound for A is ah, and so one of the diacritical marks that they provide will mean that. I can't remember what the double circle is. I got to find a whole thing on this, and I'm going to probably share it down below in a link if I find a good printout for an explanation of the diacritical marks and which one they mean. But basically, diacritical marks are phonics. That's all it is. It's just telling you which sound to use for which letter. So once we review the words and the letters, then she reads the passage. And then after she reads this, she'll narrate back to me orally, draw a picture. I'll write it down for her. If she decides she wants to write it down, I'll let her do that. And then the next step would be pulling copy work from this. So I'll write in her notebook the passage I want her to do copy work from. And then we'll also be working on dictation through this. So we'll be working on that same passage most likely, or another one depending on how she's doing. If I'm trying to challenge her more, I'll read a sentence to her without her looking at it, and then she has to write it down with the correct capitalization, punctuation, and spelling. Going further into the book, I just wanted to show you one of the lessons. They don't do this for every lesson, but for some of the lessons, they have something called Slate Work. You'll see here I think this is lesson 18. I'm reading this backwards. So they have it in cursive. So if your child is working on cursive, then you can have them write this passage. If they aren't, you can just skip that part. However, I think it is important for children to, at minimum, learn how to read cursive, if not also be able to write in cursive. My oldest is doing a cursive handwriting course this year, so we are including the copy work that is in cursive with her lessons. So just to show you how quickly it ramps up in this first reader, look at lesson 1. We're reading the dog. The dog ran. That's lesson 1. Let's look at the last lesson in this book. Okay, so here, but look at how long the passage is. That is all the last lesson. So it really ramps up over time with this. It's 60, how many is it? It is 73 lessons, I think, in this book. So you would think, oh, well, you'll get through that in 1 year. Not necessarily, depending on how quickly your child picks up reading. You can make this a 2-year program with just this one book and going slowly. So here are the diacritical marks in the back, the phonics chart, but I need one that I can print off and just reference quickly until I memorize all of the different, what the different marks mean. So you'll see here, for example, the A has a dash at the top for A8, a V for care, how you say A in care. So you see it goes through what the different symbols mean. I need a more accessible one, not having to flip back to the back of my book. So if I find a sheet like that, I'll include it in the description box below. So that is the first reader book. let's talk about this printout from Verily Schoolhouse. I also have a 10% off code. I'll leave it down below and I'll also put it right here. It's Mary Barfield, but click the link down below and that'll get you your 10% off her entire shop. She's got so much on there, but this is the number one thing I'm using right now that I love. And what I love is that I bought it once and I can print this off every year from here until my girls graduate, and I don't have to spend any more money except for on paper and ink. So it is definitely an economical choice to do this. So when you open it, on the inside cover, it says this book belongs to, my daughter wrote her name, Emery. And then the way the lessons are set up, she has a space for narration in here. So my daughter narrated this to me and I wrote it down. A space for a narrative illustration. She did not choose to draw a picture for this lesson. I was actually shocked because she's my drawer. She loves art. And then on the back of that, you have a place for words. So this is that part of the loop schedule where we write down the words and she writes them 2 times. This is helping 1 with penmanship, 2 with spelling, and 3 with understanding and committing to memory the words, because science has shown if you write things down, you will retain that information better in your brain long term. So I have her write all the letters twice. Now, there's a space down here for new words. If there's a word that she reads that she does not understand the vocabulary for, we will review that and write it here and write down what basically the definition of is in the context of the reading. So you're also doing vocabulary here. So far, none of these words were words that she didn't know, so we didn't have to do that for this lesson. Then, in my loop schedule, we move on to copy work. So I had her write 2 sentences. I wrote it up here, and then I left a space for her to write underneath. And she leaves you lots of space, so as they get really advanced and they're writing longer passages, they have more space to write it. And then the last part that we do for our lesson is dictation. So I spoke this sentence to her and she couldn't see it, and she had to write it down with the proper capitalization, punctuation, and spelling, and she did a really good job on this one. And then it starts back over again. It's just the same sheets printed out again, and she did a narration for this one. This was the lesson we did today. So it's a really simple workbook. It's a really simple method of running through language arts, but it really works. My girls are really doing well with this Charlotte Mason McGuffey compilation style of teaching. Real quick before I hop off, I wanted to share the primer book with you. This is what my almost 5-year-old is working on. So inside of it, when you open the book first, it gives you that preface page that talks about the program, how to use it, the phonics method, etc. The next pages show you the capital letters and then the lowercase letters to review with your kiddos. Something to note, they expect your child to understand all the sounds of each of the letters before you start the primer book. So if your kiddos don't know the sounds, they need to go through some kind of other program, or you need to work with them to learn the sounds. My youngest did a gentle letter a week Charlotte Mason inspired program through Blossom and Root. She did Early Years Volume 2 all last year, and then towards the end of school year, I started introducing Ordinary Parents Guide to Teaching Reading through the Well-Trained Mind. And between those 2 programs, she learned her sounds so well. And then this was a great next step for her to then implement those words or those sounds into reading. So here's the first lesson. We've got a few words. We've got our letters that they want us to sound out. We've got our phrases and then our sentences. Okay, and then to show you the last lesson, you can see how much more challenging it becomes. All you do and all you say, he can see and hear. Now, just to note, we are a secular family. This passage was obviously religious in nature. It says, think the Lord is near. I haven't decided if I'm gonna skip it or if we're gonna review it and use it as an opportunity to talk about religion, because our family does not shy away from religion. We think it's important to discuss it because it's part of people's cultures and it's part of history and has impacted our history greatly. So we're not shy about talking about it. So I haven't decided if I'm going to skip those lessons or maybe change the name, or we discuss it. Either or. I think either way, whatever your family decides to do is great. I think we're going to figure out what works best for us when it comes to those lessons. But looking through this book, if you are a secular family, you can absolutely utilize this. Religion is barely talked about in here. It just so happens that last lesson was actually of religious nature. The rest of it is pretty much just good moral stories. I think that's the only lesson that I have found that has the Lord or God mentioned in it. So if you're secular, you can absolutely utilize these, no problem. And then at the back, they have optional slate exercises to start introducing cursive to your kiddos. So I thought that was kind of neat too for copy work purposes. And then they have the cursive alphabet at the end here too. Now for my youngest, I did not print off her a book like this. What we did was we had purchased a school nest notebook. We had gotten the kindergarten one, and she's just using that as her notebook for all subjects. So here she did, this was the first lesson. She went ahead and wrote the words. It's not a mandated expectation. If she wants to write, great. If not, I'm not worried about it. She's got little tiny hands, so she's working on hand coordination and things like that, where I'm not getting super crazy about the writing, but if she wants to do it, I'm totally okay with that as well. And then she drew a narration, her cat and her rat. I think that's so cute. So she's not doing as much written work as she's doing more oral narrations and things like that in comparison to her older sister. So that's it. I hope that was helpful to you if you're looking into the McGuffy Readers. So far, we are very happy with them. I will probably do an updated review a little bit more into the school year once we have a couple months under our belt, and just kind of keep you updated on how we're liking the program, how we're liking the McGuffy Readers specifically, and also how we're liking the copywork narration dictation with them. If we decide to drop all about spelling and just do our spelling Charlotte Mason style through the workbook, I don't know. We'll get there. But if you have any questions that I didn't touch upon, please leave those down in the comments. If you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you come along with us on our homeschooling journey, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.